Hello. Well, that was stressful. That was really challenging. Anyway, it's only 4 minutes past 7, so better late than never. Let's see if anyone can find this link and join me. Yeah, I'm so sorry I started late. I was in a minor panic there because I just couldn't get the video to go live. There we go, even though I scheduled it and everything. So I'm just going to wait a few more minutes to see if a few people join, and then I'm going to get into it. Um, this is actually my third Facebook Live, and I'd be lying if I said they were getting any easier. I'm still super nervous every time I do it. Even though I should be good at public speaking, I'm normally talking to a crowd of people, and I can see their reactions. So talking to the computer screen is just totally different. And yeah, the fact that I had technical problems tonight just added to my stress, so I'm probably less likely to do another one. After my first live, my friend Ellen from Natural Lights Photography, she said, oh, it was really good, but your face was really dark. So I've gone super professional now, and I bought myself a lighting setup. And yeah, I just got it off Amazon. And yes, I'm looking very pro, like a professional vlogger now. So I'll just wait a few more moments, and then I'm going to start. Even if nobody's here, I'm still going to start. So I'm going to make a video of this, and I can use it for something anyway later. So I think I'm going to do it. So tonight I'm going to talk about a kind of controversial topic, and that is starting your wedding ceremony late. So I hear it all the time. Oh, the bride can be as late as she wants. You know, it's her prerogative. That's certainly a very common phrase that gets bandied about a lot, and I completely disagree. Now, before we get into it, I just want to preface this discussion by saying that, you know, people often refer to the bride being late, but obviously nowadays it could be one of the grooms, both of the brides, or even the bride and the groom if they're walking in together. So I'm not really talking about the who, but what I want to talk about tonight is about changing the idea that it's okay to start your ceremony late, because I don't think that it is. So in general, I'm here to facilitate basically whatever my couples want, but I do feel that I have a kind of responsibility to educate couples so that they can make really informed decisions for their ceremony. And this is one urban myth that just needs to be squashed now. So if you, up until this point, if you're previously in the camp of, oh, we can start as late, you know, as we want for our ceremony, then tonight I want to try to change your mind. So here are my 5 reasons to start your ceremony on time. So the first reason is your ceremony is going to be so much better for it if you actually start on time. So in my experience, and I've done over 100 weddings now, Australians generally arrive to weddings early, like a lot early. So if your invitation says 3 p.m., then you can bet that the guests are going to start arriving from 2:30. So to be honest, it's actually really good in Australia. I rarely see guests actually arrive late. So bear that in mind. If they arrive 30 minutes early, and then you're supposed to start at 3:30 and they've got there at 3, and then you arrive 30 minutes late, that means that the guests have got there at 3 and you're actually starting the ceremony at about 4. And that means they can have been waiting up to an hour at that point. So it is not good for them, and it is not good for your ceremony, believe me. So basically, before I've even had a chance to wow the crowd with my well-written and my witty ceremony, you know, the majority of the guests, honestly, they're probably going to be already kind of over it. So trust me on this. This is what happens. So, you know, obviously a good celebrant will be able to keep the guests engaged. But if you are really late, the celebrant is going to have to work extra hard to keep the guests engaged. So, you know, what you really want is your guests listening and to everything that the celebrant and that you are saying during the ceremony. What you don't want is a situation where people are thinking, my feet hurt already from standing in these shoes for an hour. You know, where's the toilet? Can I go to the toilet now? Am I getting sunburned? This happens so often in Australia. and or even worse, can I get to the bar for the drink? And that is what people are going to be doing if you arrive particularly late for your ceremony. Now, my second reason that I think you should start your ceremony on time is that your partner will be grateful for it. If you're doing the traditional where one person is standing at the front and one person, when the other person arrives, we start the ceremony, then yeah, they are going to appreciate it if you come on time, because, you know, his mates or her mates, you know, will no doubt already be making jokes and winding them up. And every minute that you are late, this just kind of gets worse for them. You know, of course, they know that you're coming. It's not that, you know, your wedding isn't a Julia Roberts movie. But still, the person that's standing at the top of the aisle, you know, they can feel a lot of unexpected emotions on the wedding day. And really, I don't think it's fair for you to be adding to those nerves. So I say, start your marriage right by being kind to them and, you know, not making them sweat unnecessarily. So now, the third reason that I think you should start your ceremony on time is that you want to avoid the bridezilla or the groomzilla tag. So nobody wants to be perceived as rude, arrogant, or entitled, you know, or worse, a bridezilla or a groomzilla on their wedding day. And you might not want to hear this, but if you arrive late, they won't say it to your face, but believe me, that's what the guests are going to be thinking about you if you arrive late. So try and avoid that scenario and start your wedding on a good note with all your guests. Now, number 4, the fourth reason to start your wedding on time is that, and this is a really, really big one, a really important one, you don't want to eat into your photo time or your party time. So a wedding day has lots of elements and it's tough to like cram it all in. And if you arrive late to your ceremony, it basically throws the timeline off for all of the vendors for the rest of the day. I have it on good authority from photographer Ben Howland that when you arrive late, it basically puts a lot of pressure on the photographer and kind of reduces the time that they have to get the bridal party photos. And, you know, a photographer, even a good photographer, can adapt things, but they can't change what time the sun goes down. So that's something to consider. And also, not just the photographer, you know, if you're late, you can cue frantic running around behind the scenes to delay the canapes and the starter from the catering company, and everything just gets thrown out. You know, you're still going to want great photos, you're going to want to do the speeches, you're going to have the cake cutting most likely, and the first dance. I mean, maybe you're not having all of those elements, but most people do. And then where you're really going to feel the pinch when you start your ceremony late is actually at the end of the night. So when you're on the dance floor enjoying yourself and the venue says, you know, they pull the plug and they say it's all over Red Rover, at that moment you're going to regret starting your ceremony late. Now, and then my fifth reason for why you should start your ceremony on time, again, this is a little bit hard to talk about, but it's something that you should know. Your celebrant might actually charge you. So, you know, your celebrant might have another wedding to go to. So popular celebrants do more than one ceremony in a day. And of course, myself and the other celebrants, you know, we always leave a buffer. But, you know, if you arrive 40 minutes, 45 minutes late and they've only left, you know, a buffer for you to arrive 30 minutes late, then you're going to kind of put them in a very awkward situation. And, you know, it's not right to presume that they don't have somewhere else to be. So worst case scenario, the celebrant is going to have to actually cut your beautifully written ceremony short. You know, a good celebrant, you know, the guests won't notice, but still, you know, it's far from ideal. And then probably the best case scenario, they can stay, they've no other commitment, but they're probably going to charge you a late fee. So it's not really fair to keep your celebrant waiting when you've booked them for a certain start time. So make sure you know the details of your service agreement, and then you need to have an honest conversation with your celebrant about, you know, how likely you are to start on time, because yeah, you might be charged. So before you think I'm a total time freak, I'm not. Okay, so how late is too late to start your ceremony on time? So I think starting your ceremony anywhere up until about 15 minutes is totally acceptable. So just to make clear, anything up to 15 minutes, I don't really consider late. That's fine. But anything after the 15-minute mark, frankly, is pretty inadvisable for all the reasons that I just talked about. So my advice is to aim to be at the venue on time, because generally it takes about 5 or 10 minutes to kind of get the guests to come closer, you know, to fill up the seats. Then the way I do it is I go and meet, you know, the bride or the brides or the groom or whoever's just arrived. And, you know, I line up the bridesmaids and all that kind of thing. And then I come back and then I talk about, you know, housekeeping and taking photos and all that. And then we're ready to start and we're ready to press play on the processional song. So, you know, that takes a few minutes. So yeah, especially like when you get out of the car, lining up, if it's the bridesmaids, lining them up, you know, doing last minute adjustments, or even, you know, if the groom's at the front, fixing a drooping boutonniere. I seem to be always doing that just before the ceremony is about to start. And of course, before the ceremony starts, it's really important that you take a deep breath, settle the nerves, and take it all in. So my advice is aim to be on time to the venue, and realistically, we'll start about 10 minutes later, which is totally fine. So I'm hoping that I've done enough to convince you. So let's just presume now that we're all on the same page and you do think it's a good strategy to start your ceremony on time. So these are my tips or things to consider if that's what you want to do. So the first thing is, give somebody the task of being across your timeline. So if you're lucky enough to have a wedding coordinator, great, they can do it. But if not, then maybe give this job to someone in the bridal party. So, you know, it's not the kind of thing that you want to be worrying about on your wedding day is the timeline. You've planned it, but someone else can help you kind of execute it. So delegate it to someone responsible. So if your best mate, if you love your best mate, but they're late for everything, that's not the person to get to help you. So give it to someone responsible. And then when you're getting ready, my advice is you don't have to take this. I don't want you to do this if it's going to stress you out more. It's supposed to help you. But, you know, get that person to announce to the room that it's 1 hour to go, then maybe 30 minutes to go, and then maybe 10 minutes to go till you all leave. So just so that everybody in the room is on the same page. My second bit of advice is, you know, you'll want lots of time for photos after everyone's had their hair and makeup done. So let's be honest, this is the time of the day when everybody is looking their best, and it's kind of downhill after that, you know. Even if your makeup artist swears that your lipstick is long wear, you know, it may not be. So you definitely want to get some photos then. So my advice is to aim to have your hair and makeup finished about 25 to 40 minutes before you plan on leaving the room. Now, the next thing is it's important to know that everything takes longer than you think, especially in those few minutes when you're trying to get ready and leave the room and to get to the venue. So do not underestimate how long it takes to get a group of people out of a room and into the car, especially if you've got, for example, you know, your auntie there and she just wants to take one last photo, you know, with her iPad. That all takes time. And, you know, if you've got children in your bridal party, maybe double the estimate because there's always delays, you know, last minute toilet breaks and all that. And one thing to consider is the transport as well. So easy if you're on site from where you're getting ready to where you're having your ceremony. But if you're getting a car, you know, do plan for, you know, traffic delays. So maybe add like 15 to 20% of how long Google Maps says it's going to take you. And then, you know, then you'll be in, that'll serve you well. So especially if you're getting married on the Central Coast, any of you Central Coast couples, you'll know what I'm talking about. Basically, one little car crash on the Central Coast and, you know, traffic jams for miles. Also, if you're getting, your transport is like a vintage car or a combi, a Hummer or a limo, generally they travel much slower and yeah, it just takes a little bit more time. Okay, so they're all my tips. Now I want to talk about, so let's just say you've aimed to be on time, you've done your best, you've followed all my tips, and for some reason, totally out of your control, you're going to be late. You know, maybe there's a car accident or, you know, touch wood, but you know what I mean? Something happens out of your control. Okay, so if you are going to be late, this is my advice. You really should get a message to the rest of the bridal party and to the celebrant who's waiting for you at the venue. So just doing this one simple thing is going to alleviate so much stress for all the people there, all the people involved. So me, for example, I put my phone on silent about 30 minutes before a ceremony, so there's no point texting or calling me. I probably won't hear it. So think about who you're going to call, and it doesn't have to be you. You can give this to someone in your bridal party to, you can delegate it to them, but maybe tee it up with the MC, that they'll still have their phone on them right up until when you arrive for any last minute emergency calls. And then try not to stress. So, if you are going to be late and it's out of your control, the last thing I want you to do is get stressed and let it ruin your day. At the end of the day, everybody will wait, of course. So yeah, so try to be on time, but if you can't, don't worry. So I hope you find that useful. Don't worry if you arrive late. I'm going to put a replay of this on my Pinterest and my YouTube and on my Facebook channel, so you can watch it from the start. And I've also written a blog about this very topic, so you can find that on my website, which is juliemuircelebrant.com.au/blog or /advice. I think it's /blog. You'll find it. And at the end of the blog, I've actually linked to a kind of related article that Ben Howland has written, photographer Ben Howland. He's written this great article all about how to plan your wedding day timings. And yeah, I recommend that you read that. So we've come to the end. Tell me, do you agree with what I've said? Or have you got any questions? Let me know your thoughts on it. Hi, Andrea. Hi, Nick. Have you something to tell me? Have you got engaged? You're just showing me your support. Hi, Rachel. Hi, Sarah. Does anyone have any questions? Yeah, type me a message. Tell me, do you agree, or do you think, nah, you should be able to start your ceremony as late as you want? If that's how you feel about it, that's okay too. Nah, everyone's being pretty silent. That's okay. Hopefully everyone understood where I was coming from, and hopefully now you can at least make an informed decision. And yeah, and also if you're a bridesmaid, it's not good advice to say to the bride, oh, you can be as late as you want. So hopefully I've educated everybody and everyone understands all the reasons why it's good to be on time. Okay, I think that's it. Sending love to everybody. Okay, bye.